afternoon, it's Laura Evans here from Unleash Your Potential, helping people like you to unleash their potential in business and life. And today I'm here to talk to you about my 10-minute guide to better communication online. Now, before I start, let me set my timer. Now, communication online is just as, if not more important as doing it face to face. Most of us are finding ourselves now living online, whether that's you communicating with your friends and family in the evenings, or whether that's you for work, talking to customers online, talking to work colleagues on Zoom calls. So many of us now are living and operating online, and communication can be just that little bit trickier when we have the physical barrier of technology in the way. So I've got 3 key things that I would like to discuss with you today in order to help you to improve your ability to get your message across when you are online. Now, the first thing to stop and think about is whose responsibility is it when it comes to communication? Is it your responsibility as the speaker to be clear, or is it the listener's responsibility to pay attention? And this is a question that I ask students in our NLP practitioner training course all the time. Although we train the NLP courses, actually I say to students, you can easily take the NLP practitioner talk label off the course and replace it with advanced communication skills, because that's essentially what it is. Now, it is my view that actually the responsibility for speaking and listening actually equally sits with both parties. The problem, though, is if as the speaker I sit here and go, well, it's 50-50. Partly I need to be clear in my communication to you, and partly you need to give me your attention and listen and absorb what I'm going to say. The problem with that as a communicator, as a speaker, is that that kind of lets me off the hook. Because actually, if someone doesn't hear what I've got to say, that could be down to me or it could be down to them. And what we say in NLP is whenever you are the speaker, you should assume 100% of the responsibility, even though strictly that's not true. Because by taking full responsibility, that means I can improve my communication. If my message doesn't land in the way I'd intended, and I get feedback, verbal or non-verbal, from the listener, then I have an opportunity to reflect on how I can improve the way that I impart the information that I am trying to impart. So for me, I assume 100% responsibility, and therefore I'm always looking for ways to improve how I communicate. So I've got 3 tips for you in 10 minutes I've got 7 minutes left, in order to part with you to help you with this. Now, first of all, we have something in NLP called the REP systems. And these are representational systems. And we accept that everybody that might be on your conference call, on your Zoom call, that you might be communicating with at home, all have different preferences. Some people have a preference for visual. Some people have a preference for auditory, they want to hear. Some people kinesthetic, do and gut feel and those things. And some people have a preference for what we call auditory digital. This is very much about facts and information and processing, just understanding, needing the information but not really getting involved in any of the emotion, like for example kinesthetic people will. And this is one of the reasons why we've seen the upsurge in video. Because when we are using video to communicate with people, you can see me, so that works for the visual people. You can hear me, that works for the auditory people. You can get a feel for me, that works for the kinesthetic people. AD people just need the facts, they just need the information. And so video actually ticks a lot of the boxes for people. Whereas just being on the phone is just auditory. You can't see me or get a feeling quite the same way. So video is very good. So where you get the opportunity to communicate in video, do that. And Zoom is so easy to use. My second tip is understanding your listeners that are on your call or are on your phone call, and understanding whether they are what we call external or internal processors. Now, external processors think out loud. So there, I'm an external processor. So if you ask me a question, I often will think out loud. My ex-husband used to say to me a lot, Laura, you've asked me a question, then you've answered your own question. Because actually I can just process information out loud. Someone that's an internal processor needs time to internally process before they can give you an answer. So when you are communicating online, particularly around Zoom calls, you'll need to manage those external processes. Because if you have a call full of external processes, that's going to be hard to manage. The way I run Zoom calls as the leader of the Zoom call is I do my piece and then I go round the room virtually from person to person asking them for any questions, comments, concerns, observations that they would like to share. And so you're going to have to manage those external processes when you are on your call. Now, the internal processes will need time to think. So plant the seed with them before you get onto the Zoom call so that they can come prepared with their thoughts on the subject. So they'd be the kind of person that I'd be bobbing an email to or having a quick chat with beforehand saying, on the Zoom this afternoon with the team, I'm going to be asking everyone about A, B and C. I wonder, could you give some thought to that before you come? And then you'll get the most out of them on that Zoom call. So remember, manage internal and external processes differently to ensure that both get what they need out of that Zoom call or virtual meeting. And the third top tip I have for you is actually a little game. Now, I got taught this years ago to help me and to help people I was training get better at listening. Most people, when they listen, actually are only listening in order to wait for their ability to reply. So it's referred to as the right to reply. So most people don't generally listen properly. They kind of are patient and they sit there and they But actually, they're just waiting for their opportunity to speak. And that means that they're not really listening to what is being said. And when you're online, that's even more important than face-to-face. So here's a game for you, which I used to play when I was getting better at my listening. And what you need to do, it's called the first letter, last letter game. And so what you do is you listen to the person that's speaking. And in order to reply, you have to listen to the whole of their sentence, work out what the last word was and what the last letter of the last word was, and you challenge yourself to start your sentence when it's your turn to speak with a word that starts with the same letter that the other person finished their sentence on. And it really does make you listen properly. And so I encourage you to play just quietly, maybe on your own, the first letter, last letter game, which is, remember, listen to the other person and really listen to their sentence. Get to the last word that they say, the last letter of that last word that they say, and you start your sentence with that letter. That will really help you improve your listening skills. So I hope you've enjoyed today's live. Just to recap, 3 tips in 10 minutes to help you improve your communication online. Firstly, think about the way you're communicating. Are you using visual, auditory, kinesthetic and auditory digital methods to impart your information? Are you allowing those external processes sometimes to think out loud, but curtailing that a little when you're on a Zoom call to make it productive? And are you helping those internal processes come prepared? And thirdly, have a think about whether you really are listening when you're on those Zoom calls, and maybe the first letter, last letter game is for you. So with 1 minute to spare, I thank you so much for joining me today for the 10-minute guide to better communication online. If you want to find out more about what we do here at Unleash Your Potential, we have a load of online courses. There is one specifically called Communication and Influencing Made Easy. I'll pop the link for it in the comments below this video. And thanks again for joining me. Take care, stay safe, stay well, and until next time, goodbye.